Hey everyone, in this video I'll be reviewing the ZiiGaat and J-Audio Estrella, a collaboration IM that is going for $300. And this IM has a lot going for it, I must say. I was pleasantly surprised. Starting off with the fit and build quality, it has this like star pattern or something on it. It looks really beautiful, I must say. And the fit and ergonomics are excellent as well. The shape is perfect for my ear, and you're really able to get a nice deep fit and a good seal. These are some other tips besides the stock ones, but they just came on them and they fit me great, so I didn't bother changing them. I tried measuring with some other tips and they measured about the same, but really big fan of the fit of this IM as well as the build quality. In terms of sound, I'll start with the measurements. This IM actually does have inverted polarity, and the confusion stems from J-Audio's measuring rig having inverted polarity in the first place, so when he measured the IM, he thought it had correct polarity, but the IM does in fact have incorrect polarity. For reference, I compared it to the Etymotic ER2SC and the Truth Ear Nova, which audibly have correct polarity to my ear, and they measure with opposite polarity to this, and it measures with the same polarity as the Moondrop variations, the IMs I currently main. I don't know what IM this cable came with, but it's some tin hi-fi cable without ear hooks, and I'm easily able to flip polarity by flipping the cable. So normally you would want the blue or positive end, I think, going forward into the IM, but you have to flip it around with the Estrella on both sides if you want correct absolute polarity. And that's what I've done. The blue end is facing backwards. And now polarity is correct. So now we'll talk about tonal balance. So comparing it to the Endgame in-ear target, we can see that it has significantly more bass, a bit more ear gain region, and a bit more upper treble. What this results in is a really bassy sound, obviously, but it doesn't sound like the vocals and stuff are completely drowned out because the ear gain helps to balance out the increased bass, and the increased treble also helps to balance that out. But it's only a tuning I could listen to for a few songs at most. I wouldn't say it actually sounds bad, surprisingly, out of the box. Like, it's still listenable. And this IM actually does have very good technical performance in some sense, I will say. Even though the treble quality is a bit chewed up, it is well extended until it does roll off. So versus a lot of other IMs I've heard where there's a huge like gaping hole in the response, this sounds better than that despite being less smooth. I would honestly take this over the Truth Ear Nova to use with EQ, because with silicone tips, I'm just getting such an amazing fit with these, and the sound quality is quite good technical performance wise, so I'm able to get really good sound quality with these with EQ. But, you know, reducing the bass makes the treble issues come across more clearly, so then you have to fix those too, and the end result after only a few filters is pretty good. I'll show that here. Reduce the bass with a single filter, then the ear gain, and then smooth out the treble a bit. Left the upper treble as is because that's the technical performance of this IM, but shelved it down a tiny bit, and the result is very good. The only complaint I'd have left is that there is a bit of zinginess in the treble, but the clarity is outstandingly good. Like, I'm able to hear everything with such high clarity, and it sounds really good. But even though the treble like might look a little bit peaky, yes, obviously like it being like perfectly smooth would be better, but the fact that the peaks and dips, which you can actually hear in Tone Generator, like zigzagging up and down, they're very like close in level relatively, so it doesn't completely damage the sound, and when you're hearing like extension of lower frequency instruments, it actually sounds quite good and natural. But when there are instruments with fundamental frequencies or upper harmonics that are, you know, of high level, like a tambourine or something, then it can sound really jarring. I'll give you an example of a song. Angels We Have Heard on High from the Gran Turismo 7 jazz selection has tambourines in the song, and it really does not sound natural on the Estrella. And when you compare it to something like the Variations with better treble quality, the Variations does sound smoother, but it does actually lack a bit of clarity that the Estrella has in the treble. And for why that is, as you can see, my Variations EQ now compared to the Estrella, it's easy to get the Estrella to be very close to the target in general level, but at my insertion depth, the Variations has a bit of a hole at like 6 to 7 kilohertz, and this does affect clarity in a negative way. The reason I don't EQ this is because it's like a technical performance limitation of the IEM, and it's very difficult to EQ upper treble in such fine grain detail. But with the Estrella and some limited filters, you're able to get it to be very close to the target all the way up till around 18 kilohertz. Whether there's really an audible difference past that, I'm not entirely sure, but overall the treble quality is preferable for me on the variations than the Estrella, but it's still extremely good on the Estrella. Definitely better than Truth or Nova with silicone tips. With the foam tips, the Truth or Nova just feels like you're just like in like this like closed room. It doesn't feel like there's nothing in your ear, so that's what I really like about this. And it has a lot of like shimmer and musicality that you're not really getting on the Truth or Nova with foam tips. And then if you use the silicone tips, you're just gonna roll off the treble more and have like a 16 kilohertz peak. But I think that technical performance wise, this IEM is good. The bass quality is amazing. I thought at first it had like better bass quality than my Variations EQ, but now that I'm looking at it, I can see that it actually has more bass in level than my Variations EQ, so that should be fixable probably with just a bit more bass boost on my Variations EQ to make it closer to the target. But I mean, for the price, $300, I think this sounds excellent with EQ, that is. I mean, if you want to use it without EQ and you specifically want this really bassy sound signature, I think it does deliver that well. It is very bassy without sounding horrible in other ways because it does balance out with the ear gain region and the treble. But I mean, there are some other issues like the polarity being inverted, but in the grand scheme of things, like the difference between Harman IE 2019 and the Endgame IE target is far greater than just having correct polarity in Harman IE 2019, right? So my recommendation, if you do decide to get this IEM, is to get a cable without fixed ear hooks, reverse the polarity, or to correct it, and then EQ to the Endgame IE target, and you'll actually have a very high quality sounding earphone that is extremely comfortable. And yeah, I must say this is very satisfying for the price, and I've enjoyed my time listening to it aside from those moments when the upper treble does come across a bit harsh. But like overall, compared to what else is on the market, it is extremely good. It has really high clarity and great dynamics, and yeah, I'm happy to recommend this for the price, honestly. If you are going to use EQ, that is, and for one more step than correcting the polarity, but that's less important than using EQ. But you know, now you know my recommendation, so take that for what you will.